Hello, my name is Wyatt, and this is Cycle 10 of DSU's Security Tool Development course for summer 2025. In this cycle, I am going to be sharing some updates that I've made to my API Security CTF challenge that I created in Cycle 8. If you didn't watch my Cycle 8 video, essentially what I did last cycle was I created a CTF challenge that teaches users how to identify API keys that are stored insecurely in web applications and suggests 3 methods for secure API key storage. So I'll just go over my challenge that I created really quickly, and then I'll discuss the changes that I've made in this cycle. Essentially, the user is going to access a website hosted in a Docker container. The website is running on Nginx, and then there is an SSH server running on this Docker container as well. So the easy aspect of the challenge is identifying the insecure API key stored in the website itself. And then the medium version of the challenge is to identify the 3 alternative secure methods of storage. So to view the easy challenge, we are going to go to index.html on Nginx. So that is simply just localhost 8443. And we can see my lovely website I have here with a Google Maps embed. So the user is going to be looking for the API key here. The easiest way to do that is to do inspect element. So we're looking for an API key, and it probably contains or has something to do with Google Maps embed here. So if we expand map container and look at this URL, expand it out fully, we can see that Google Maps embed place key equals, and there is an exposed API key. So that is essentially this version of the challenge solved, because you can see later on there is a CTF flag here that the user can insert into the scoring system once it's up to earn points. So, but you also notice that there is an additional query here that's next Chad Hawk challenge, which is probably not a parameter that Google uses. So if you look more closely at that, it's the /APISec-memid.html, which should be an indicator at this point that this is another website or page on this website. So that page is right here. And you can see there's some lore here that I've created that discusses 3 flags and contains SSH credentials. So this is the start of the medium challenge. And then for the medium challenge, the user will use these credentials and hopefully recognize that this here is a hint to solve the medium challenge, which involves logging in and then identifying that there is the first secure method of storage is a gitignore file. So that contains 1/3 of the flag that they're looking for, and that is hinted at here and often gets ignored. Then the second part of the flag is in the environment variable. So if the user runs printenv, they should see the flag part 2 variable that says the second part of the flag, and that's hinted at in here. And then the third part of the flag comes from the secret tool application. So if they run secret tool lookup flag, they will see the 3rd part of the flag, and that is hinted at right here. So I implemented that last cycle. This cycle, I've made a couple of changes, as you can probably see by the diagram already if you watched my last video. The first thing I did, as you've seen, is add more realistic web page content to the medium challenge. So that would be just a little lore as well as these hints. The second thing that I did, as you've already seen, is I've enabled HTTPS on the local web server. So that is because a lot of the people who will be playing our CTF have corporate restricted devices that only allow accessing sites through HTTPS, so it's just a more ease of use type thing there. The third thing I did was a major change and resulted in a cascade of other changes that I had to make. I created a standard user called Chad instead of having the user SSH as root, which I was previously. This allows me to do 2 things. First, it allows me to disable grep, which prevents the user from grepping for the flag components, which could be done in the previous version of the challenge quite easily and would circumvent the learning experience. The second thing that I did was change the user's bashrc to be owned by root, so that the user doesn't accidentally modify or delete that file and delete some other aspects of the challenge that I will get to later. The fourth thing I had to do based on this standard user change was rewrite secret tool to be a C file. So when I made the standard user change, previously root could access the system key store through my secret tool script that I made. But standard user Chad cannot access root's key store. So I had to essentially come up with some way to allow Chad to act as root only for this task of running secret tool, and then ensuring that they don't have root access in other places. So that involves setting the sticky bit, which does this exact function in Linux. It lets a standard user run a specific application with the bit set as root. But that doesn't work on bash scripts, which is the script that I wrote to view the secrets. There's a whole discussion about this and why the secret tool is not the actual secret tool that I discuss in Cycle 8, and it largely has to do with Dockerisms on how dbus isn't implemented, which you can view that video if you're curious. But that is essentially why I'm using my own script that I had to convert to a C application instead of the standard secret tool that is on Linux. So this C application, converting it from a script to a C application, allowed me to set the sticky bit, since the sticky bit doesn't function on bash scripts. The biggest change I want to say here is probably logging to Graylog. You can see I had my Graylog instance up a minute ago over here. So this reports the SSH IP address, the working directory, and the command run for each interaction with the challenge as the Chad user. And we'll discuss that in a bit of detail later. So then finally I added an SSH banner, just has a welcome message and some reminders of the rules for the CTF. So now we'll get to a quick demo. So if I SSH using the credentials, we can see here's my new welcome message that I've created. Then if we go to Graylog, we can see that we have a login. Oh, well, that must have been from last time, but I have logged in now. So we're going to start the challenge by going to cat/var www.html.getignore. And the user would obviously spend a lot more time researching these aspects and looking at the hints. I'm just going through the answers because for the sake of time. So we can see that there's a file linked in there, and there's my command that I just ran. So let's copy that and cat that as well. And you can see flag part 1. If I run print environment, you can see flag part 2. And of note here is my command that is sending all of the logging information through logger to Graylog. So that's why I don't want the user editing the environment variables in their, what file was it? In their bash rc, because that would allow them to potentially modify or remove this on accident, and we don't want that. And the third file, or the third flag, part of the flag, is in secret tool lookup flag. You can see flag part 3 there. If we do which secret tool, and then ls local bin secret, we can see this is highlighted in red because the sticky bit is set, allowing anybody to run it as root. So I should go over Graylog as well. Basically the way Graylog is working here is, as you can see, it's forwarding the IP address of the session that is through SSH, as well as the working directory that I was in, as well as the commands that I ran while I was interacting with the challenge. That's forwarded from the environment variable set in the bash rc right here, and it is received on not logging inputs. This is received through a syslog UDP input with a grok extractor that pulls out the data the IP address, the working directory, and the CMD to be viewed in files, or in Graylog, as we can see here. The main ideas for this challenge are the same as the last cycle. When you're creating a web application, don't store the API keys in a manner that's accessible to the clients. And there are multiple secure ways to store these API keys, and the three that I demonstrated were the getIgnored text file, the environment variables, and the most secure, the system secrets manager. There are pros and cons to each of these. Essentially, the getIgnored text file and the environment variables, one is stored as a file, the other one is stored in memory, and the permissions on each need to be set appropriately to ensure that they are secured. So, but the system secrets manager, being the most secure, it also depends on support in the operating system. As I mentioned, Docker does not support system secrets and recommends that you use secret mounts instead. But if you are in a traditional Linux environment, then you would use the system secrets manager to secure your API keys in the best possible way. So if you want to know more about Docker and secrets and the whole dbus issue that I encountered in the previous cycle, I highly recommend you go watch that video. It's quite interesting, my efforts over there. For future directions, I would like to add additional logging for Graylog. Basically, I want to be able to log activity on the web and SSH servers to identify anybody who is not part of the CTF that might be like trying to SSH in or attack the website or something, and that would allow me to block them appropriately. So that is it for my project for this cycle. Thank you so much, and I look forward to reading your feedback.